everyone, and welcome to ShoeCap's Building Resiliency Series. My name is Dr. Julie DiMatteo, and I am a staff psychologist at CAPS. For those of you that are not familiar with our department, CAPS, or Counseling and Psychological Services, provides free year-round counseling, crisis intervention, consultation, and referral services to the SHU community. Our mission is to foster the psychological health and well-being of our students in order to enable them to thrive, develop, and achieve academic success. I encourage you to check out our website, www.shu.edu/caps, for more information and helpful resources. It is our goal that this video series provides you with a roadmap for navigating the many stressors that arrive in college and beyond. Often, we hear from students that if they just had more time, more resources, more support, were stronger, etc., they could be more successful. Essentially, what they are talking about is the concept of resiliency, or how we not only survive, but thrive in times of stress. The good news is that resiliency is something we can build, and this three-part video series teaches you different ways to do so. Our first video will help you learn what resiliency is, why it is critical to success in college, and the skills needed to build and maintain resiliency. The second video highlights ways to connect with others to build resiliency and reduce loneliness. Finally, in the third video, we discuss skills needed to be resilient when navigating adverse situations. Each video will also provide resources should you want additional information, as well as how to contact CAPS if you feel that additional support is needed. I look forward to presenting this information to you and hope it provides meaningful skills to support your success in college. In this first video, we are going to provide a definition of resiliency, why we need it, and what it looks like. We will then present a framework highlighting the different components that support resiliency and the skills needed to help one bounce back in times of adversity. Let's start with defining resiliency. Wendell states that resiliency is the process of effectively negotiating, adapting to, or managing significant sources of stress or trauma. She goes on to state that assets and resources within the individual, their life, and environment facilitate this capacity for adaptation and bouncing back in the face of adversity. We commonly use this phrase, bouncing back in the face of adversity, to define resiliency, meaning one's ability to persevere despite facing a significant stressor or trauma. Further, resiliency does not mean just surviving these situations, but rather thriving and maintaining a successful path. A misconception is that resiliency is innate or within an individual. Either you have it or you don't. In reality, resiliency is situational. We can experience it in some situations and not in others. And resiliency is like a muscle. Through practice, we can strengthen skills that increase the likelihood we will have a resilient outcome the next time we face an adverse situation. So what does resiliency look like? Resiliency can look like perseverance in times of difficulty, living according to our values, working towards goals, regulating our emotions when facing a stressor, having a network of healthy supports and relationships, maintaining a healthy balance of school, work, and life, and maintaining optimistic thinking despite adversity. All these traits are critical to both our success in college and our life beyond. College presents a lot of uncertainty in relationships, academics, career goals, and more. In college, resiliency means that we have the tools to tolerate this uncertainty and to feel confident that we can navigate whatever stressors or hardships we face. This gives us increased drive, perseverance, and motivation when we do hit a roadblock. It also can create a sense of freedom as we do not feel as trapped or limited by the options around us. Now that we know what resiliency is and why we need it, the next question is how can we build it? While we know that certain factors in our lives and environment can facilitate or inhibit a resilient outcome to stressors, we do not think of resiliency as set in stone. It is never too late to make changes to what we're doing or how we approach situations to increase the likelihood of us thriving in the face of adversity. DiMatteo and Cook presents a framework that looks at the different components that support resiliency. This framework highlights skills needed to allow one to adapt, persevere, and thrive in the face of adversity. We present an overview of the skills in this presentation, as well as resources and readings you can access if you'd like to learn more. There are three major parts to this framework that we're going to review in this presentation. In the corners of our triangle are the keys to resiliency. The first is having clearly defined values that we adhere to and goals that we work towards. The second is having experience that provide us with positive emotions. And finally, having healthy attachments and relationships. The first key we are going to discuss is values and goals. Values and goals are what gives our lives a sense of purpose and meaning. Having a sense of purpose is critical to our moods and resiliency. It is important to distinguish values from goals. Values are like a compass that guides our lives, whereas goals are specific, achievable tasks that align with our values. For example, you may value education and identify a goal of graduating college to align with that value. Values define a meaningful life and give us a sense of purpose. They can be found across domains of our lives in areas such as physical well-being, education and personal growth, friendships and social relationships, romantic and intimate relationships, family relationships, involvement in our community, recreational activities and hobbies, and spirituality. Values vary in importance across individuals, and a life led according to our values is tied to greater happiness and satisfaction, as it helps us prioritize how we spend our time. We feel our best when our actions align with our values. Living a life congruent with these values provides us a buffer when we face stressors. It also helps us navigate how to respond when we face an obstacle, since we know what path we are on. When we either don't know our values or our actions do not align with them, we can feel greater stress, low self-esteem, and difficulty coping as we do not have a clear purpose and path. In contrast, goals are specific, achievable tasks that align with our values. We are most engaged with our goals and motivated to achieve them when they're informed by our values. Working towards a goal that is set by another person can bring us less meaning and purpose and may even negatively contribute to our mood and self-esteem. There should be intentionality when we set our goals based on the values we hold. Goals typically are set in the short term. What do I want to do this week, this month? And they're also set in the long term. Where do I want to be this year, 5 years, 10 years, etc. Goals can be easily checked off our to-do list, and we have a clear sense of when we've achieved them. I encourage you to pause the video right now and take a moment to reflect on your personal values and goals. Russ Harris, an author in the area of acceptance and commitment therapy, defines values as chosen life directions. To get at what this direction is for each of us, he proposes asking the following questions. Deep in your heart, what do you want your life to be about? What do you want to stand for? What truly matters to you in the big picture? How do you want to treat yourself, others, and the world around you? Other questions to consider include, how important is each of the domains of values in your life right now? And how successful are you in keeping your actions congruent with these values? What goals are you currently working towards, and what are some long-term goals you have? How do they relate to your values? The next key is to have positive emotional experiences. In this context, positive means emotions that are wanted or desired, like love, happiness, and excitement. However, we want to be clear that this does not mean we don't experience negative or unwanted emotions like sadness, anger, or jealousy. Negative emotions are a part of our lives, and if we were to have enough skills built in, we can experience them without derailing us from living according to our values and reaching our goals. All emotions, positive or negative, serve as a signal to motivate us to change or communicate to ourselves and others around us. If we lost negative emotions, we would also lose important signals. For instance, if we never felt fear, we could place ourselves in dangerous or risky situations. Nevertheless, we know that regular integration of experiences that prompt positive emotions increases our buffer against stressors and improves the likelihood of a resilient outcome when we face adverse situations. In fact, research shows us that positive emotions have an undoing effect on negative emotions we experience. While our goal is to always have more positive than negative emotions, this always isn't possible. That's why we need to create a bank, so to speak, of positive emotions that we can draw from when our lives are tough. We can increase this buffer and create a bank in one of two ways. The first is to accumulate positive experiences in both the short and long term. We do this by increasing our time spent engaging in activities we enjoy. Each day, you should do one thing you enjoy, something that you do just for yourself. We'll talk about some ideas on the next slide. We also accumulate positive experiences in the short term by focusing our attention on pleasant moments and mindfully engaging with them. This means full participation without distraction, no multitasking. Research on multitasking shows that we are not more efficient and we can actually be decreasing our mood by overwhelming ourselves and limiting the amount of pleasure we get out of an activity. In the long term, we need to avoid avoiding. When we have a strong negative emotion associated with a task, we tend to want to avoid it. While this might feel good in the short term, in the long term, it can really increase or decrease negative emotions and cause additional stressors. When we have tasks we don't want to do, the best thing we can do is break it down into small, manageable parts and face it head on. Finally, if we set achievable goals and our actions align with our values, as we discussed in previous slides, we're going to experience more positive emotional experiences. This again creates not only a sense of satisfaction and happiness, but also creates a buffer for when we inevitably experience stress. The second way to increase positive emotions is to build a sense of mastery or competence. This means having things in our lives that present a healthy challenge and make us feel good when we achieve them. We can do this by doing one thing each day that makes us feel accomplished. Keeping a to-do list is a great skill here, and it can feel really good and rewarding when we get to cross things off this list. We also want to plan for success, not failure. If we go into a task thinking we are going to fail, we're already going to feel defeated and not give it our best shot. If we plan for success, we can think through what we need to do to achieve our desired outcome and more confidently take on challenges that arise. Finally, we actually want to seek out challenges. Now, this might sound strange, but we know that mundane or meaningless tasks can decrease our sense of competency and mastery and increase negative emotions. Challenges help build a sense of confidence, self-worth, and improve our self-esteem when we achieve them. Now, this doesn't mean we go from never running to setting our sights on a marathon. Rather, going back to the previous slide, it means setting goals that are a notch above where you are and slowly building up to a big challenge. Here's a list of all different activities you can do to help accumulate positive emotions. Of course, this list is not exhaustive. Spend a moment and think of some things you can do each day and each week to increase positive experiences. Remember, this may feel optional, or these activities may be the first thing to go when we're really busy. However, engaging in these activities are critical to creating a buffer from stressors and increasing the likelihood of a resilient outcome when we face stress. They are not optional and should be scheduled in your routine just like any other obligation. If we've been really busy for a while, it can be hard to find activities we enjoy. Try a few things and try it a few times before you rule it out. Take a moment and write down some activities, or even better, schedule them in your week so that you can try to start practicing engaging in more pleasant tasks in your routine. The final key in our model is forming and maintaining healthy relationships. We're going to discuss this in a lot more depth during our second video, but to give you a preview, we really think of healthy relationships as the crux of our well-being and facilitating resiliency. These relationships support us in reaching our goals, and they also help keep us aligned with our values. In fact, research tells us that social support is the strongest predictor of resiliency when facing an adverse situation. Social support can look like all types of relationships: friends, family, romantic, but also mentors, role models, and anyone else we engage with who provides us support. Social support is not just the support we get from others, it's also the support we give to others. Feeling like we're contributing to relationships, helping others, and having a meaningful impact in the lives of those around us gives us a sense of happiness and well-being. Finally, connecting to others is important. Even if these individuals aren't our go-to, just being around others and feeling part of a group and a community can improve our well-being. Simply going for a walk around campus where we see others' faces and feel connected to our larger community can be helpful. In contrast, feeling disconnected or marginalized in the community around us can decrease our sense of social connection and support, and in turn, lower our resiliency. The sides of our triangle are the mechanisms of resiliency, and they help to build these keys we just discussed. Mechanisms include reasoning about ourselves, others, and our world, resources available to us, and the routines we engage in. As previously stated, reasoning is how we think about ourselves, others, and our larger environment. When we talk about resilience, a major component is how we think about our experience. Our thoughts and interpretations related to adverse events can greatly shape the outcomes we experience. If we have a positive view of ourselves, others, and our larger environment, we're going to be more likely to take on challenges, form relationships, and work towards our goals. Negative views in one or more of these areas can decrease our self-esteem, our connection to others, and our engagement with our values and goals. In turn, this can lower our resiliency and our ability to bounce back from adversity. Negative views of ourselves, others, and world occur in the form of judgments, negative interpretations and bias, assumptions, and opinions. In contrast, taking on more neutral or positive views looks like being mindful, non-judgmental, and fact-based. Healthy reasoning is characterized by thinking that is optimistic and positive and marked by active problem-solving, flexibility, and compassion for ourselves and others. If we take on this form of thinking when facing an adverse event, we increase the likelihood of a resilient outcome. Therefore, we find the best outcome to be for individuals who have a growth mindset, meaning how can I learn and thrive in the face of obstacles? In a growth mindset, we are not comparing ourselves to others or labeling obstacles as failures. Rather, we are putting in effort and viewing this as opportunities for self-improvement, which enhances the likelihood of a successful outcome. Success is putting forth your best effort, which decreases self-criticism, comparisons, and improves outcomes because your ultimate goal is to grow, regardless if you meet a specific goal or not. It is the process, not the outcome, you are focused on. We discuss strategies for combating these negative thoughts and working to reframe our thoughts to be more neutral in our CAPS Cultivating Calm series. Check out more on how to do so on our website, www.shu.edu/CAPS. Resources are the internal and external skills and strategies we have to navigate adverse situations. We discussed and will be discussing many of the internal strategies, so here I'm going to talk about external people and places within our environment that provide support, information, and guidance. To successfully access and utilize resources, we need a few things to happen. First, we need to have knowledge of the resources available to us. Often, we can conduct a Google search or ask friends and family for recommendations, but we still can feel unsure or uncomfortable doing so. At the end of this presentation, we provide a list of campus resources that can help you be successful in college and beyond, and to help you navigate supports available if you hit a roadblock during your academic career. Next, we need to be able to access resources. Research tells us that individuals who reside in areas with many and easily accessible resources are more likely to be resilient given the support available to them when adversities occur. In contrast, individuals who reside in areas that have few resources or difficult to access resources are more likely to have mental health and medical difficulties. One of the many benefits of being in college are the resources available to you. In fact, research also tells us that compared to peers not enrolled in college, college students are likely to have greater resiliency in part due to these resources available to them. Depending on the communities you come from, you may not be familiar with resources or you may have doubts about the supports they can offer. I encourage you to check out the list of campus resources at the end of this presentation and to try those relevant to you a few times before making a judgment if it may take a few times connecting to see a benefit. Additionally, unlike community resources that may end based on funding and other challenges, these campus resources are here to support you for your tenure at the university. Next, we need to keep a predictable and constant routine. Now, this might not always be possible given unexpected events or changes in our lives. However, keeping routines provides a buffer by giving us a path to follow when we face adversity. Routines are not just the activities we engage in each day, it is also the habits we have and the skills we use to take care of ourselves. I want to pause and emphasize the importance of skills. Having a toolbox of skills to use not only increases our likelihood to maintain our routines, but also our resiliency. Additionally, practicing skills each day, be it in the form of relaxation, Mindfulness and engaging in those pleasant activities we talked about before are critical to making meaningful routines. We adhere best to our routines when they align with our values and goals. Similarly, we are likely to find our greatest sense of purpose when we have a structured routine. Finally, routines maintain resiliency when they nourish us and create that buffer for when stressors occur. In contrast, routines can deplete us and compromise the likelihood of a resilient outcome when we face a stressor if we're getting little meaning, purpose, and fulfillment from them. If we have a daily routine that depletes us, we decrease the likelihood of being resilient when facing adversity because we simply do not have the internal resources to cope. Think of our piggy bank analogy from the beginning of this video. If our bank is depleted, we have nothing to pull from when stressors hit and need greater resources. Therefore, we need a routine that provides us enough nourishment to undo the effects of depleting activities. Take a moment to reflect on your routines. Use this as an exercise to increase your own awareness of what activities do for you, your mood, and how it might impact those in the world around you. To begin, write down a list or schedule of your typical daily activities during the average work week. Begin when you wake up in the morning and end when you go to bed at night. Next, review your list and designate each activity as either nourishing or depleting. Nourishing activities increase our energy and improve our mood, whereas depleting activities drain our energy, decrease our mood, and create stress and tension. You may find that the same activity may be nourishing in one context, depleting in another, or even neutral depending on the meaning that we give them at the time. Our final component of this resiliency framework is awareness of ourself, of others, and of our environment. These components facilitate the success of the factors we just discussed. First, we will discuss building awareness of ourselves. That is, having an understanding of what is going on within me and of my emotions. This is awareness of the emotions situations prompt in us, how our bodies feel physically in response to these emotions, and the reactions it is leading to. This is critical to building resiliency. Without understanding ourselves and our reactions, we can feel confused, deflated, or unsure what to do. This often leads us to engage in behaviors and actions that do not align with our values and take us away from meeting our goals. When we have awareness, we can notice changes in our feelings, attitudes, beliefs, physical health, etc. that are compromising our well-being. And with this awareness, we can then effectively respond to them. When we have an understanding of ourselves, we are more likely to feel confident that we can cope, align with our values, and persevere in the face of adversity and move towards our goals. Hence, we build resiliency. Next, we need to have awareness of what is going on with those around us. Being able to see and respond to the needs of others facilitates social connection and creates the healthy attachments and relationships we discussed as being critical to resiliency. Finally, we need to be conscious of community and global factors in our direct environment and the larger world around us. This allows us to understand external factors influencing us and for us to respond in a way to facilitate connection. In order to build an awareness, we need to have mindfulness skills. You can find more on mindfulness in our CAPS Cultivating Calm series on our website, and there are also great mindful meditation exercises you can complete under our self-help section. Mindfulness can be defined as the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. This is different than relaxation, and often the terms are conflated. Instead, mindfulness means our ability to keep our awareness in the present moment despite distractions from our past and worries over our future. Mindfulness really means noticing without doing. By doing so, we actually increase our freedom and choices, as with greater awareness comes more effective and meaningful decision making. Today, we are going to practice a mindfulness exercise of our smartphone. As I walk you through this exercise, I want you to try to focus on awareness of the self and what emotions and thoughts are associated with using your phone. First thing to do is to sit comfortably in an upright position. We want to make sure that we're in a comfortable position, but not in a position that would make us fall asleep or feel sleepy. Next, with your phone in the palm of your hand, rest your hands gently on your lap. Keep your eyes open for this exercise. Once you've been reached in a comfortable position, I want you to take a deep, cleansing breath. Look down and turn on your smartphone, but do not open any particular app. Just let your thumb hover over the top of the screen. Take in another full, deep breath into your belly. Let yourself feel the nuances of how the breath enters and leaves the body. For a moment, simply pay attention to your breath. Focus on the feeling of your breath coming in and out without breathing in any particular or controlled way. If your mind drifts, which it will, just gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Next, I want you to direct your attention to your phone. Before touching or doing anything, just notice, is there any impulse drawing your thumb or finger to any particular app, to check email, or some other aspect of your phone? Is there a want showing up in you, a sense of being pulled towards something? Get curious as to what this want, this desire actually is in the moment. What are its components in your mind and body? Notice the pull and see if you're willing to just ride the impulse without following it. Come back to noticing your breath and silently ask, what emotions come up for you looking at your phone? Is it interest, excitement, frustration, or anger? Are you reminded of someone or something when you look at your phone? Are you feeling frustrated over not immediately opening and using your phone? What thoughts are coming to your mind about your phone? Are you able to stay focused on your breath and just observing your phone? Or do you find your thoughts distracted by having to check things, what you have to do, wanting to follow up on something? Remember, we're not opening anything up here. We're just observing and looking at our phone. As you're observing, come back to the sensory details of your breathing. Focus on the breath for a moment. Really look at your phone and wonder, does looking at this small object cast any doubts on how you manage your daily life, your time, your attention, your relationships? How does this small, thin rectangle make you feel about yourself, about your sense of control in life, about how you feel about others and the environment around you? See if you can just stay with these thoughts and feelings and where they're falling in your body. Just let them be without doing anything. As you observe these thoughts and feelings, I want you to bring your attention back to your breath, focusing just on the feel of your inhale and exhale. Here you can pause for a couple of moments and just focus on the breath. Focus on the feelings and the thoughts that arise by looking at your phone. And when you feel ready, you can join us back into this presentation. For additional mindfulness practice, check out the apps listed here, as well as those on the CAPS Self-Help webpage. There are many resources available to you on campus depending on what supports are needed. Some examples include the Academic Resource Center, which offers services to help students reach their full potential. The ARC offers skill-building workshops in note-taking, test-taking strategies, time management, stress management, and preparing for final exams, in addition to individual and group tutoring. Campus Ministry offers opportunities to participate in, to share, and to develop your faith with others. The Career Center offers an array of programs and services to assist you in pursuing your career aspirations. The Office of Disability Support Services, or DSS, coordinates accommodations and services for students with disabilities. Health Services provides high-quality healthcare to university students. More information about services to support students can be found on the Student Services website listed here. We will discuss additional campus resources for social support in our next video. If you find you are in need of additional support or resources, please call CAPS at 973-761-9500. Our standard office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:45 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. In the case of a psychological emergency after hours or on weekends, an on-call counselor can be reached by calling our main number 973-761-9500. Finally, this is a list of the research that underlies the information presented for you today. For related self-help readings, check out the CAPS website. We also want to thank Paolo Decano, who individually helped us in preparing the materials for this series.